let's go live. Wesley. Does anybody
Ryan.
Does anybody call you Wesley?
People in my family do that haven't seen me since I was like 8 years old. Like, hi, Wesley.
What a
Oh,
Wesley.
hi, guys. Yeah, right.
That's awesome. Hey, do you have the Amazon? Do you stream movies or TV on Amazon? The Amazon Prime
Rarely.
service.
I'm a Prime member and I'm an active Amazon user. I've got packages probably 3 or 4 days a week coming in. So yeah, when I'm bored, sometimes we go to Prime, but it's not very often. I stick mainly to Netflix and HBO Max.
This show is sponsored in part by Netflix and HBO Max. I after recently watching The Boys, like marathoned every single episode of The Boys. I watched season 1 through 3 pretty much in the course of like 2 weeks. It was awesome, by the way. I use Amazon. I use the Prime streaming service a lot. And then the last night, I went to just throw it on before I went to bed, and I swear I thought I thought that I loaded the wrong app because they just overhauled the entire thing, and it looks super generic now. It looks like all these other like free apps, like Voodoo or whatever the free ones are. And I was like, did I load up the wrong app? And I must quit out just to see. And yeah, super generic, but it actually looks kind of nice. So I can't lie. I don't know.
It's happening everywhere, man. Less for more. That's the motto for 2022.
Less for more. Oh, sweet. That is super on brand for today's show. I can't wait to talk all about that. And yeah, on that note, let's start the show.
Let's do it.
Kill Artist 1 in the chat, by the way, says, and I know this isn't how we normally start the show, whatever. Kill Artist 1 in the chat says, love the boys. He puts the boys in quotes to make sure that you guys know, that everybody knows he's not saying anything except I love the boys, the television show. It's very good to be clear about that. Use apostrophes whenever possible. And Sir Moses with the, I don't know what R is we're going to go with rubles. We're going to go with 10 rubles. Says, hi, Brian. Some weeks ago, PSVR2 was homologated. I don't know what that word means. Somebody check real fast. In Brazil by Anvisa. I don't know who that is either. This means that Sony can already sell the headset here. That also means that the launch is close. PS5 was homologated. Dude, Tiffany gave me such a hard time for using big words like ubiquitous on the show. She's like, I didn't even know what that means. I was like, ubiquitous? Right? And so homologated is our ubiquitous of the day. PS5 was homologated in August of 2020. So let's see. So let's figure this out real quick here before we even start the show, Wes. I don't know what homologated means, so we'll just pretend like I do. But August to November, right? August, September, October, November. And they said a few weeks ago. So he's basically saying if apples to apples equals oranges to oranges, that we should see PSVR 2 on store shelves in a couple months.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? And you know, not to cast any disparaging doubt on your previous predictions here, but if there's anything that's been constant about the development cycle of PSVR 2, it's been change, right? It's always fluid. So, I mean, it's possible they could move it up tomorrow. So good to hear that it was homologated in Brazil.
I don't even know if we're pronouncing that word right, but it sounds right. It says approved. So we're getting clarification in the chat. Homologated means approved. Approval to sell in the country. Thank you, Sir Moses, for the follow-up. Yeah, I mean, as great as that is, trust me, I would rather have people go, oh, Brian was really wrong about this Q1 2023 thing. He's been saying it since February. I'd rather have people say, oh, he was wrong, and then we all get our PSVRs in October, November, right, of this year. I would much rather be wrong and get our headsets early. However, do you know how many people Sony would be screwing over if they just said they'd be pulling a Sega Saturn, like a huge Sega Saturn? They'd be pissing off so many people if they did that, because word is, developers are trying to get their games out for launch, right? And if they missed the launch because Sony was like, oh, we just changed the date at the last minute, developers would be super, super, super pissed. Matthew Longo says, Sony is nuts, though, so who knows? I kind of agree with you. Who knows? We have no idea what's going on anymore. This is PSVR GamesCast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube, live at 6 p.m. Eastern. And you can watch it live with us, like some of you guys are doing right now, 131 of you. But at least 2,500 of you will watch this later. And if you're watching it later, that means that you're probably seeing some timestamps by our good friend Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry. And if you're listening to this and you can't see our faces, it means you're probably watching without eyes, as we like to say, or watching with your ears, as Nick Ulo likes to say. That means you're listening to it on podcast services of your choice. That is taken care of by our good friend Jay Meow, who uploads this to all sorts of different podcast services as soon as the show is over. We cannot do this without all of your help. The website wasn't done by me. The fan wiki wasn't done by me. We've got awesome people in this community helping us out. Isn't that right, Wes?
Absolutely. I mean, in our space, we hear words like amazing and insane and incredible all the time. They're all over.
Incredulous.
The mouth gape photos have these words all over them, but they absolutely apply here. Damn it, my phone won't quit ringing.
Just get him on the show, man. Answer the phone. Take a live call. Right? What else we have to do today? Just take the live call.
Yeah.
You're live on PSVR Gamescast Live.
Right. If I could see my phone, I would do that. But, I'm not going to go dig for it.
Reminded me to put mine on silent.
Anyway, as I was saying, amazing, incredible, insane, absolutely applies to this community. I'm blown away by them almost on a daily basis. So shout out to the Game Cats.
For sure, man. For sure, and all the strangers out there, as well. Do you have a name for? Is there a name for virtual strangers?
I mean, when I call them anything, I call them strangers. They typically like to group up into day strangers and night strangers because, as you know, we're on during all hours, all 24 of them, depending on what day it is. So we get different crowds, man. Different crowds watching the daytime than watch at nighttime. But we're all one family on Discord, so it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Sorry, I every so often a random comment in the chat stands out. An old Darth of PSVR2 gaming hound dog, which is interesting. It says Brian has sirens. Wes is jealous and has to resort to staged phone calls.
Right, like anyone wants to talk to me, right?
All right, man. We should probably get this thing going. Just a heads up, if you want your name on that little scrolly down there, that's for Patreon supporters of the $3 tier or above. You can join our Discord completely for free, but if you want access to voice chat, that's also included in that same $3 tier. There's exclusive videos going up for the $5 tier. Should be twice a month. With Why We Love episodes and AMAs. We're way off schedule, but we will fix that very shortly. And then, as I promised, I'm going to start uploading a weekly video for every Patreon supporter. Litterbox thing. I've already got the first one kind of like thought out, and once I get the ball rolling on those, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. So, patreon.com/withoutprogames if you choose to support the channel financially. If not, don't worry at all. Hang back, sit down, put your feet up, enjoy the show. We don't really care. Dead Ringer with the $2 tip says taking live calls would be a great idea. I would like to do something along those lines because we do have such an amazing community that getting everybody's voice or video up here would just be awesome.
This never occurred to me, and which blows my mind because I'm constantly trying to think of original things that haven't been done in our space, but it never occurred to me that we could do a call-in show. Like, it's such a cliche thing from like 50 years ago, right? But it could absolutely work here. I mean, we wouldn't need an 800 number. People could like Discord, we could have a Discord queue, and I mean, it would take a little bit of finagling and planning, but we could absolutely do that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that hard. I'd love it to be something a little bit separate than GamesCast, like like a real viewer takeover show. We could do it every Saturday or whatever, and just like talk about the shit that happened all week, and it could be very community focused. I like it, man. I like it, Dead Ringer. Way to keep up the suggestions, and I wouldn't be surprised if at least one of us implements that, or maybe both of us will implement that.
Sure. Sooner or later, right?
It's true. Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry in the chat says, tried it. He did. He had a show that was exactly that. Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. I liked watching Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry's show, but like there weren't a lot of call-in people, and so when the people don't call in to a call-in show, it becomes very much like this instead. Or an interactive chat, I suppose. Now let's ride in the game feeling with the $5 tip. Says, Happy West Day. PSVR2 coming this fall would be perfect, just soon enough so that it's not 100 degrees out. I will say I'm 100% with you on that. I've not enjoyed putting on the headset during the day at all over the course of the last few months here. And so being able to use a headset throughout the course of the fall and in the winter would be awesome. What are you doing? She's just doing her thing. All right, man. What do you think? We should probably jump into the first story of the day.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, let's head on over to the SIE blog, where Sony posted an article called "PlayStation Indies Development Hardware Loan Program, helping make PlayStation the best place to publish and play." If you guys don't know, this is it's certainly been an issue for independent developers trying to get their hands on PlayStation 5 dev kits, PSVR2 hardware, things that they need to make their games on the Sony platform, which is why I think most developers start off on Steam, because it's just the barrier to entry is super, super low. So while a lot of developers do have their stuff, a lot of them don't. And so this is where this is kind of coming from here. Greg Rice, head of PlayStation Creators, writes, "It's our continued goal to make PlayStation the best place to publish and play games of all shapes and sizes. Over the past couple of years, we've been thrilled to support our external publishing partners with features in indie spotlight events, indie montage videos on our social channels, dedicated space for PlayStation Indies on PlayStation.com, and have been working to reduce the time it takes to get new developers onboarded on PlayStation. As such, we're always striving to lower the barrier of entry and improve the process for publishing on PlayStation. We're pleased to announce a new initiative that'll make it easier for partners to hop in and get started with developing for PlayStation. Newly licensed PlayStation game publishers and developers will be eligible to receive one PS5 development kit and one PS5 testing kit, compliments of SIE, subject to applicable terms and conditions. So who's eligible? We want to welcome new voices, new ideas, and new experiences from the game development and publishing industry. So sign up with PlayStation today at this URL. I don't know, man. This is good news as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, the more people who have access to PlayStation 5 dev kits, the more developers will be interested in bringing their games over. What do you think, man? What initial reaction?
I wonder what it takes to be homologated for this list or this program here. No, seriously though, I think this is a great thing. We've talked to developers of, all different size studios, and one thing is very apparent. While it is true, there's a lot of dev kits out there. There's a lot of teams that don't have them yet, and trying to kind of piecemeal together what they need. As I've recently learned, these things can be quite costly and expensive. And, a lot of the really small developers get priced out immediately because of that. Hold on.
Hello, it's Wes Dillon. Welcome to PSVR GamesCast Live. This is going to be good. I just know it. Nice. Oh, we have to go full screen on this one.
There we go. Problem solved. Sorry, I apologize.
Oh man, I was really hoping we were gonna.
Yeah, well, I mean, whoever it was is not there anymore, and it was a landline, so it's probably not me for me anyway. You guys know what landlines are, right? Remember those?
The big spiral cord that's stretchy, and it would stretch and it would stretch all across the first floor from the kitchen into into the bathroom or wherever else it was. Yeah, dude, it was always like, who's on the phone? You'd walk into the house and there'd just be like a stretched out phone cord from the kitchen that led like 100 miles in any direction. Like, someone's on the phone. I don't know where they are. I'm just gonna limbo under this thing. Yeah,
Exactly. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a great thing for these smaller studios that have been priced out. The one thing that's unclear, they mentioned PS5 testing kit, PS5 development kit. They do not mention PSVR2, and I got to imagine that will eventually come to this program, but maybe not today.
Well, the interesting thing about PSVR2 is that the reason, and I know there's some confusion out there, and I got into like a back and forth on Twitter about this. People don't understand that, like, PlayStation VR2 doesn't exactly have a dev kit, right? When people who requested a PlayStation 5 or bought a dev kit or whatever from Sony for PlayStation 5 and PSVR 2, they got a PlayStation 5 dev kit, but then they got like this prototype headset, and there's nothing special about that prototype headset at all, except that like you got it before it came out, before it hit store shelves. And so I think, they're just getting the ball rolling on this thing. I think as far as PSVR 2 is concerned, they're going to go, well, just go buy a $400 headset off the shelf and use it with your dev kit that's on loan, because $400 is nothing. Meanwhile, buying a dev kit is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, right? You said you found out recently how expensive they are. Did you get any indication as to just how expensive they are?
Well, I don't remember what my source was, but I do remember the number. It was something like $15,000 or something, something crazy like that.
Yeah, it is not cheap to get into development on the PlayStation side of things. And dude, I think this is the very beginning of a long process that Sony needs to take, a long journey that Sony needs to take in terms of being better with their third parties. They need to be better in so many regards. They need to be better about not making it a major hassle to get multiplayer up and running, not being like, crazy fucking Uber Nazis about a dip in frame rate on a loading screen, right? Like they need to understand a little bit better where these indie studios are coming from and say, we'll give you a pass on things that don't matter. And we'll make it easier for you to make your game run on PlayStation. If Sony wants to continually stay on top, then they need to make some concessions. And it seems like so far they have not made a ton of concessions. They're on top because they've been on top, not because they're treating their third parties as best as they could. So I think they've got a long way to go.
It seems like they're taking their position for granted sometimes, doesn't it? Like they just expect that as long as the games deliver, that they'll be on top forever. And there's more to it than that. Especially in a worldwide economy like we find ourselves today, value means a lot, not only to consumers but to developers and everyone. So things can change very quickly.
Let's knock out a couple tips before we move on to the next news story. We got Joey Batts with a $5 tip, giving us advice on our call-in show. Says maybe do up to 5 callers, but figure out who is calling in a week before. So basically, not just asking people to call in live, right? Having them all set up and ready to go. Otherwise, we get a lot of people just screaming "Baba Booey" when we get them on the phone.
Like the old Mr. Show bit where they have the pre-recorded call-in show, so that every week someone's calling with the previous week's question.
I'm not familiar, but that sounds great.
It's hilarious.
We got. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm terrible at being not speaking anything that's not straight up an English name. Is it Joao? Mr. Victor or Senor Victor with another R. This must be a Brazilian thing. We're gonna stick with rubles though, just to show how ignorant I am of world economies. 10 rubles, saying with the price of Quest 2 rising from $2.99 to $3.99 on August 1st, in August, I no longer see it possible to launch for less than $3.99. What do you think, and when will Sony announce Half-Life Alyx for PSVR 2? That, I think, my friend, my Brazilian friend, I'm assuming, is a great segue into our next story. And that is, in fact, that we saw over on Twitter this week. Not this week. This was yesterday, right?
A a day or two ago.
Yeah, MetaQuest VR at MetaQuest VR tweets out, in order to continue investing in sorry, can't speak. In order to, try that again, just we'll edit that out. In order to continue investing and moving the VR industry forward for the long term, we are adjusting the price of MetaQuest 2 headsets to $399 for the 128 gig model and $499 for the 256 gigabyte model, starting on August 1st, 2022. They go on to say an offer to download Beat Saber, one of the most popular Quest apps, at no additional cost, which is kind of hard to laugh at. No additional cost. We're going to ask you to pay an extra $100 to get a free $30 game. Right. You can get that free until the end of the year. Dude, what's first impressions? There's obviously a million thoughts I think that we have on this. What were your first impressions when you saw that?
Oh, well, I mean, about exactly a million things ran through my head because there's so many angles to it. Why are they doing this? And what does it mean for the the Oculus Meta ecosystem? And then what does it mean for Sony? It's an opportunity for Sony, and they could go either way here, right? They could certainly, like, there's an internal debate been going on how much of a loss should they take on hardware to pick up a customer? What should they launch it at? PSVR2, I mean. Obviously, Quest being their main competitor right now and being notoriously low priced, it puts a lot of pressure on them to kind of reciprocate. This kind of lets them off the hook. So those within the the Sony power circle who are advocating for a higher price point, now they pretty much had their mind made up for them. But those who are business minded and savvy will recognize this as an opportunity to be the new entry point for VR for a lot of traditional gamers out there who already have PS5s. So, yeah, man, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what way they go. I don't think that this necessarily precludes them from having a lower price point. And in fact, it may do just the opposite. It may encourage them now to take the advantage and become kind of that, that $300, $350 option for so many gamers out there.
Yeah, I agree, and it's funny because for a long time people were saying that Sony had to compete with Facebook, and there was no way that PSVR2 was going to succeed unless they matched the magical $300 price tag. That is no longer a concern. That and I mean I've been thinking there's no way that PlayStation VR 2 is going to sell for $500. That's been in my head. That was way too much. $400 was sort of the magical price point for me because 3 seemed unreasonable and 4 seemed like, okay, well maybe they'll still take a small loss on each one, make it up on the software side. And now to see that, I'm just going to look at this one more time. If they sell it at $400, they're actually matching the lower end Quest 2 headset. And so yeah, I mean, oh my God, dude, this is, to me, this is the craziest thing ever. I actually couldn't believe it. I thought this was like a hard drive article or something. I thought that there was something, I was just waking up. I hadn't had my coffee, and this to me was a joke. I was like, there's no way this is real. Let me go find out if it's real or not. And when I saw that it came directly from Meta, I was absolutely flabbergasted. I could not believe that this was something they had done, because how do you sell a headset for 2 years at a certain price and then raise the price by $100 on all SKUs? This is the opposite of how things are supposed to go, right? This is not good business. It's if anything, Quest 2, the parts, the components, everything about it, the prices should have come down over the last 2 years because by all accounts they've manufactured millions of these things, upwards of 15 million that we've heard, right? And so at that point, parts are supposed to come down in price, things are supposed to get less expensive. And so even if they were taking a significant loss on each one, at this point you go, okay, well, every day we're taking less of a loss, and it makes me wonder how much of a loss they've been taking for all this time. I mean, we did an
episode. We did an episode about a month ago talking about the state of the VR industry, and we pretty much said it then, man, that they had reached their breaking point. They had we may have even talked about it a little bit on this show about how we were moving into the post meta era for
Mhm.
VR. Um, and this is just further proof of that. They've pretty much given away their bank account to build VR because they believe in it so strongly, or Zuckerberg believes in it so strongly, and that it's done a lot for us. But again, the gravy train's over now. I'll point out that it's not just the base Quest 2 and the larger storage capacity Quest 2 that's getting a price increase. The refurbs are getting a price increase. All of the accessories are getting a price increase.
Wow.
Everything across the board is being raised now. And some of that certainly could be due to inflation, but I think a lot of it has to do with marketing marketing strategy for their future
Don't
headsets.
worry, I'll edit
They're
that out.
right. Thank you. Their upcoming $1,500, reportedly $1,500 headset, and then Quest 3 later next year. I mean, a $400 or even a $300 Quest 3 looks like a deal after Quest 2's been $400 for a year, right? So maybe there's some kind of fuckery going on there. They could be it could be a trap. They could know that they're giving Sony permission to launch at a higher price point, only to pull it back, afterwards. There could be so
Dude,
many different things going on right here, and they're probably considering all of them.
the conspiracy theories are crazy, right? The conspiracy theories are crazy, and I've got a couple of my own, and they make absolute sense to me. But let's start with the least likely of the conspiracy theories. And I don't know if you're going to agree with me or disagree with me, but that's fine. I run this show. Fuck off. The conspiracy theory that makes the least sense to me is that Meta got word of how much the PlayStation VR2 was going to cost. They're like, oh, it's good. We just found out that it's going to be $600, right? Just make an imaginary number, and that means we've got room to actually raise our price and still undercut the competition by a couple $100, right? How likely do you think that conspiracy theory is, or is that just ridiculous?
I could think that would be a facet, maybe in an overall, logic. I wouldn't think that would be the impetus for them to do this. I think that there are likely many factors being taken into consideration when a move like this is being made, and that very well could be one of them. But it's kind of apples and oranges, right? Because while yes, we are kind of competing for the entry point headset for VR, we're talking about two different generations of devices. We're talking
Right.
about with PSVR2 something that's going to be light years ahead, and again something that's more akin to their $1,500 headset that they're getting ready to launch. So yeah, maybe that has a little something to do with it. I wouldn't think that it would be like the driving force
Yeah.
behind it.
To me, if you're saying if you're anybody out there who's saying, trying to put a positive spin on this, I don't think is looking at the facts. I think the facts are showing us one of two things. One, that the reason most hardware developers or manufacturers can sell hardware at a loss is because they make it up. This has been how things have gone since the NES 8-bit era, right? Like things have been going this way for a long time. You sell your hardware at a loss, but then you make a chunk of money on every single game that's sold for your console because you have to get the license to do it, and then the hardware manufacturer gets a 30% cut on every piece of software sold, and so you make a ton of money back on the software side of things. So you can sell the hardware for less, and that was obviously the plan here. It was obviously the plan. They said we're going to take a major loss on Quest 2, and then we're going to make a bunch of money on all the software sales. Does this not prove that software sales on Quest 2 are just nowhere near they should be for the number of units they've sold?
I don't. Maybe it's declining. All indications were that they've been very happy, especially in the first year to 18 months. The attach rate very similar to what we saw on PlayStation VR2, where people who buy these things tend to buy a lot of software. Now, with that said, there are a lot of non-gamer users for Quest as well, and even
Mm-hmm.
if they do have 15 million headsets out there, I would say that conservatively 5 million of those are probably not people who even play games, people who are watching media or using it for other reasons, socializing and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's a fair point. But again, uh, we are a couple years into the thing now, and we're staring next gen devices in the face.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense for it to kind of be ramping down a little bit at this point.
Well, and it's at the same time, I think, you pointed to 5 million people who are using it for social aspects, for watching movies, for non-gaming things. I think there's a lot of people out there who, and I generalize and say kids, but I also should include people who aren't hardcore gamers, people who aren't interested in buying, 20 games for their headset, who have one game for their headset, or kids that got it under the Christmas tree because they were like, oh, it's affordable, right? And parents were like, oh, you want a VR headset? Here's the one that everyone's buying. It's $300, boom, under the tree. And then like kids don't have, for the most part, credit cards and or full-time jobs, right? They can't just buy games willy-nilly like the rest of us. And I like that I used willy-nilly and didn't even cringe that hard. And so I do think that this also points to a good percentage of those headsets being for either casual gamers or kids that just don't have expendable income. And so there's a lot of different reasons why software might not be selling, now that the user base is expanding. The hardcore VR user base who bought it during the first year or so, like you were talking about, yes, probably a huge attach rate. But then once you start spreading it out and then everybody who's heard that this thing is cool starts playing it, then the attach rate goes way, way, way down because it's reaching a much more casual market. It's the Wii all over again, right?
Right. Rec Room, VR Chat, Gorilla Tag. This is what the kids play, right?
Exactly. And then there's my personal conspiracy theory. All right, let's go to full screen here. Let's get all intimate and personal. Hey guys, what's going on? Brian Paul here. This is my you're on a PlayStation VR show, PSVR2 perhaps. You might be interested in that. It's coming up next year, real soon. It's gonna be awesome. I promise. I don't know shit. But I think personally that Facebook is scared. They know that PSVR 2 is coming soon, and they need to get as many Quest 2 headsets sold as fast as possible. And the best way to do that is to cause a little bit of panic and say, hey, if you haven't bought a Quest 2 headset yet, the price is going to go up in 5 days. And so if you want a Quest 2 headset, if you were planning on buying one over the course of the next year or 2 years, you should buy it right now because it's now $100 less than it'll be next year. And I really do think that that's a huge, huge part of this. They're trying to get as many out there as possible, as soon as possible, because they know they don't really have a contingency plan. They don't have any competition for PSVR 2 when it gets here.
I mean...
Talk to me. Tell me how crazy I am, Wes. I'm interested.
Well, that would seem more feasible to me if, like, the price were increasing in 3 or 4 weeks. But, I mean, if you're hoping for word to spread to the general consumer in 5 days about the VR headset, that's not going to happen, man. So it seems a little less likely to me, unless they've got some kind of inside knowledge, like price and release date, like a big PSVR 2 announcement's coming next week, and they want to head that off at the pass. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a little bit more feasible. But yeah, I mean, if they were trying to really get a real push to clear stock, I would say they would be like, okay, in a month, the price is going to go up. That way, Joe and Sally Walmart have time to hear about the news. By the time this happens, by the time people hear about this, it's going to be done, right? So I don't know, man.
I don't know, man. This ain't the 1950s anymore. Like news spreads like wildfire, and especially in our community, which is still fairly small. I do think people who were I've already heard from people who said I was on the edge. I was saying, oh, in like 6 months I was going to buy one or whatever. It wasn't in my budget yet, and I bought one today because I found out that it was going to cost me $100 more. And so I've heard only from a couple people, so this is very anecdotal evidence. However, I do think that this could potentially be right. And Delirium in the chat says, you're right, Brian. I think it's a tactic to sell headsets in the short term until Q3 or PSVR 2 competing sales-wise with them. I know it sounds crazy, but I think there could be many, many factors at play here. And I think this could be one of them. Yeah.
Certainly many factors at play here.
Yeah, absolutely. Garrett B in the chat says, sounds like you're assuming everyone has a PS5. Can't assume that, man. People are desperate for a PlayStation 5 and can't get one. That should change by the end of the year, though. So Hakuna Matata, if you're looking for one.
And by the way, I maintain that people who really want one can get one, because I've seen it every time in my community. You just got to put in, you have to pay attention. You can't just expect it to fall in your lap. You can't go to the store and buy it, but you can get one.
But no one wants to put in the work. I mean, like, really, Wes, as far as I'm concerned, if you can't go on Amazon.com and type in PlayStation 5 into the search bar and then just buy one for the actual retail price of $400 or $500, right, and then have it shipped to your house in 2 convenient days, this show sponsored in part by Amazon Prime. Man, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Not the case, though. Until that happens, until people can just go to Amazon and buy one, or walk into a store and just be guaranteed that there's going to be one on the shelf, it's hard. It's still hard to find, and I don't think it's fair to ask people to put in work to give Sony $500. I don't think it's fair to even ask them to put in 5 seconds of work, right? The onus should be on Sony. Onus, Tiff, by the way. I'll put the definition of that word on in the chat for you later.
Let me ask you this, Brian. What do you think happens first? That we receive our PSVR2 launch kit in the post, as they like to call it overseas, or you're able to walk in the Walmart and buy a PS5 off the shelf? What happens first?
PlayStation 5 should be able to. We should, according to, a few different sources, right? We've been seeing it for months now. Sony's been pairing up with different manufacturing partners in order to get PlayStation 5s on store shelves. They're saying, and especially when you look at Sony's projected sales figures for the PlayStation 5 between now and the end of the year, or the beginning of next fiscal year, it's higher than they're expecting to sell more during this period of time than even the launch year. Which is crazy, right? So they obviously know that they're getting way more PlayStation 5s out in the wild than have ever been available before, and that's supposed to be by the end of the year, by the holiday season. You should be able to walk into a store, or go to Amazon.com, and type into the search bar and get it with your Prime service 2-day delivery, sponsored in part by Amazon.com.
I hope that's true. I still check every time I go into Walmart. I check to see if there's a PS5 on the shelf. I check to see if anybody's bought a PSVR kit, and I check the Quest 2 stock every time I go.
Let's do. I've kind of backburned a few of these tips here. So let's talk about these tips, and then we'll talk about what this Quest price increase could mean for PSVR2. Movemaster Mick, the shape-throwing PSVR game cat, with the 5 quid, says, Alvo crossplay testing going very well. Game cats versus virtual strangers on a monthly multiplayer meetup maybe in the near future. Did he just sign up us for a monthly subscription to something? That's quite the commitment.
That's exactly what I told him on the Discord. It's like, that sounds great in theory, but we have a lot of people here on a wide variety of schedules, but
maybe a one-off. I like the idea.
Right? Yeah, maybe.
Nice. Alvo should be a lot of fun. Joey Bats 33 with a $3 tip says, new shirts, sirens on my end and ringing on my end. That's pretty good. We're definitely getting sirens on my end t-shirts out by the end of the year. But ringing on my end could be a new thing. We'll get Wes's face on that one. We got Wally is now a game cat, specifically a white tiger, with a Canadian $2 tip, says, could the Quest price increase be a trap for Sony? Which I think you addressed already, right?
Yeah, well, I said could be. Yeah, for sure. I think the Joe Rogan crew calls it honeydicking. I think they might be honeydicking Sony into a higher price point just to take it back whenever the holiday gets here. Like, people like to buy things on sale during the holiday season, right? Get it so they can feel like they're getting a deal. But I mean, if you're already at $300, you're not going to cut it to $250 or whatever. But if you're at $400, you can certainly cut it back to $300 or $350, right?
Yeah.
So I think there could be some of that kind of trickery at play here. That we're getting a raise in the MSRP, but we could see more frequent sales after PSVR2 shows up.
Yeah, the thing is I said it a long time ago, and I don't know if I still believe myself, but I don't think that Sony looks at Meta as a huge competitor, right? They are doing their own thing in their own space. They're very much the Nintendo of the VR world, right? Being like, hey, we're not the most powerful. In fact, we're very far from the most powerful. But look, it's all in one, convenient. Look, it's cheap, right? Here's your $300 thing, and we know it's not the most powerful, and you're not getting shitloads of AAA games on this thing, but it's so affordable. And just and easy to use, that how could you not have this, right? They're kind of out there doing their own thing, and I do think that, like, if even if you have a PSVR2 or or PCVR or whatever, like, I don't know, man, somebody fucking fix my brain real quick. That, like, just like, I mean, I have a PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, whatever, but I feel like you need a Switch. Like, if you love video games, like, having just a Switch is also great. And I kind of think the same thing about the Quest 2. It's like, whatever headset you're using, if you're connected to a high powered PC, or if you're picking up a PlayStation VR 2, I feel like the Quest 2 is sort of like this necessary component in your VR on your VR shelf. Something that you just be like, oh, I just want to play a quick game of Walkabout. I just want to play a quick game of this or that or whatever. People go to bat for Pistol Whip or Beat Saber on there because it's just like, boom, easy, no wires. Let's do this, right? And I totally understand that, and I totally agree with that. I just don't. And so, like, I don't think Sony really sees Nintendo as a competitor, and I don't think they see Meta as a competitor for the exact same reason.
I agree with that, because Sony, of course, is selling when it comes to VR, which at the end of the day is a peripheral. It's not a standalone unit.
Right.
They're selling to their own crew. They're selling to people that are already in their ecosystem. But with that said, I certainly think that Facebook Meta looks at Sony as more of a competitor than Sony looks at them. And even if this price increase isn't a direct reaction to something that Sony's doing, one of the things we talked about when we were talking about moving into the post-Meta era was that we're going to start to see competitors rise, not just Sony, but Pico and HTC and all, Valve, all these other companies are going to come up with their own standalone headsets to compete with the Quest. And by setting such a low price point, it's kind of driving the industry. It's making the industry trend toward taking a loss on hardware. And I think when Meta looks at what they want to do in the future, that they could potentially be seeing that they're causing themselves some harm here by causing the industry to trend in that direction. So they're kind of trying to maybe repair some of the damage that they've done to their own bottom line looking forward.
Steve IRE is got his own conspiracy. Actually, very really interesting stuff. He goes, "What's the biggest issue Quest 2 has? Comfort and battery. Maybe they're improving them." I mean, let's hope they're improving it by $100, because otherwise, this doesn't make any sense. And in fact, I don't see this helping their sales whatsoever. I think this actually goes into Donatello the Scientist Gamecast. $5 tip says, if the price increase hurts Meta and they end the production of Quest, will this hurt VR in general? I absolutely think so. I think in the absence, I think with PC VR kind of struggling, despite the fact that there's awesome games on it, they are kind of struggling for sales and for users. And in PlayStation having, hey, be a lady. PlayStation having kind of like gone on hiatus here and sort of let the PSVR 1 die unceremoniously for the last year or so, or maybe longer. In the absence of all that, Meta was 100% the savior of VR for the last couple of years, getting more people in at that lower price point, getting like a lot of people understanding exactly, what VR is and how simple, that it's not like this overly complicated thing with wires hanging out of every single whatever in a breakout box that's like messing up your living room. Like, here they were sort of the saviors of VR, and I think they propelled it forward during this weird downtime, this transitionary years. I think if they stop producing Quests, it would be really detrimental. And Sony sucks without competition. Don't forget that. If they don't have competition, we're in big trouble.
Yeah, and I think that's the good news here is that, first of all, Quest isn't going anywhere. We'll get a new Quest next year, and this could have be loosely tied to that as well. But I think that's kind of the good news. It is a scary place to be after having Meta for years now prop the industry up with their bankroll. Now that that's going away, uh, times are uncertain. We have to kind of hope that consumer demand continues to grow without Meta subsidizing, easy to use, affordable hardware.
Hmm.
With that said, we're about to have competition enter the arena like unlike we've ever seen since the onset of consumer VR. And competition's always a great thing for the consumer. So as long as the demand remains, and I think AAA games coming from Sony is going to go a long way keeping that demand up there. I think that we should be fine. We should be fine without them for a little while until they regroup and jump back in with a vengeance, which they will do sooner or later. You can bet on that.
For sure. We have Matthew Longo in the chat, who anything I say loves to disagree with. He's definitely the anti Brian Paul. Says not really true. PS2 was insane and they won easily. Kind of pointing out that Sony needs competition. Just to remind you of how history went, Matthew Longo, sir, friend, cat. PlayStation 2 proved to Sony that they didn't have competition. And so what did they do with the PlayStation 3? That's all I need to say there.
Didn't they? They just about blew it, didn't they? Well, they did blow it. They recovered at the end, but they pretty much blew it with the PS3.
They blew it big time. The fact that they recovered, it showed, really showed how great they are when it comes to competition. That when they put their nose to the grindstone, when their backs are up against the wall, they do everything in their power. Like the ad campaigns went through the roof that generation. The slim redesign, the cutting the prices, of their console. Everything that they did was for the players. And I think that was that the tagline for that generation, for the players, and that just stuck in my head. I was like, hey,
yeah, and furthermore, I think that a lot of the reason why PS4 was so awesome was because of the mistakes they made with PS3, and that they certainly made things a lot better for the devs with PS4 and now PS5.
Exactly. We got two more tips, and one of those will push us into the final topic of the day. Arian with the 35 cubic zirconias said, I want Sony to confirm that social screen will still be a feature, a different image output to the TV than to the headset for social play. Hold on, wait. I really want Sony to confirm that the social screen will still be a feature, a different image output to the TV than to the headset for social play. Oh.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. I think at the very least, it'll be optional, but it'll probably be on by default, just like everything else. I mean, you can do that with Quest. So, I mean, I don't see Sony cutting that out now.
But Quest is one of the things that separates PSVR 1 from most, I think, headsets is that the social screen output can be completely different from what you're seeing on in the headset, right? And I'm sure there's examples on Quest or PCVR that change this up for local multiplayer. But the local multiplayer was, asymmetrical multiplayer was a big thing on PSVR 1 for, here and there. Keep Talking Nobody Explodes, Pixel Gear. It's quite a few different examples, and so I think that's what he's talking about, because he is saying a different image output to the TV than the headset for social play, and I would be shocked and appalled, Ariane, if that's not a thing on PSVR 2.
Yeah, I would be surprised. I think shocked is a good word. Yeah, I think. They would be playing right. I mean, this is the whole reason why Xbox reportedly won't get into VRs, because it's so antisocial, which is totally untrue. But yeah, I couldn't see Sony just playing right into that narrative. That would be suicidal.
Agreed. And we can finally go. Waleed is now a game cat, specifically a white tiger with a Canadian $2 tip, pushing us along west because somebody needs to push us or we'll never get to the main topic of the day. It says, please go in depth on the main topic of the show, UE, LOL. If you guys were here before the show started, thanks to Cerebral Frost, the Boop Cat, who had to remind me and push me in the proper direction, is that user experience is not abbreviated UE, like the initial thumbnail said, but instead UX. So let's go into detail on the main topic of the show, Wes, the PlayStation VR2 UX. And for that, I think we should probably go over to the PlayStation blog. Yeah, and we'll go through that that beautiful. This is it, before we even get into it, Wes. Is it crazy that we're getting so excited about any drip of PlayStation VR2 news? The fact that like we're like, oh, here's how some really basic stuff works, and you've seen this already on your Quest 2. The fact that they're showing off pretty simple stuff, and then we're all like losing our minds, going, "This is great! Thank you so much, Sony, for the news." Like, are we crazy, or are we just that excited for PSVR 2 that like any drip of information is just the best thing ever?
Well, for me, I mean, it wasn't pretty much the things that they were trying to tell me here that has me so excited. It's the other things that they say in between the big reveals of things that have been common to VR for 3 years now. But there are things to be excited about here. I mean, pass-through not really being one of them, but we'll get to that as we dissect this article.
All right, man. Let's see here. Let's go here. We over on the PlayStation blog yesterday, July 26th. Let's see, who is it? Yasuo Takahashi, the senior staff product manager at SIE, posted an article that said early look at the user experience for PlayStation VR 2. Check out the new see-through view and broadcasting options for PSVR 2. So let's dive into this. The road to launch for PSVR 2 is in full swing. Just want to say.
That's it right there. That's just the first thing to be excited about. They mentioned... Sorry to cut you off.
No. Perfect. This is how this is going to go. Waleed asked for an in-depth discussion. This is in-depth.
I'll just point out that they talk about their launch efforts twice in the opening paragraph, which is just exciting for us to hear them talking about launch now, right?
Yeah.
That's might have me more excited than anything else in this entire article. The fact that they're openly talking about launch now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were on board with my Q1 2023, projections, and now people are like, oh well, no, this is proof, this is proof. We're nearing the launch, and it has to be. And again, just to reiterate, I would be thrilled if that was the case. We can't wait for you to try the exciting new games and experiences you'll be able to explore with our next generation virtual reality headset. This already reminds me of someone who's trying to fill up an essay, like a 2,000 word essay, and only has 500 words. They're like, let's just use a lot of adjectives, and instead of saying VR, use full words. As we continue with our launch efforts today, we'd like to, again, today, sorry.
Today.
Right? So sorry. Everyone
Launches
in the chat.
today. Launches today, Brian. In minutes. Mere minutes.
We're mere minutes away from the launch of PSVR 2. We'd like to offer a quick peek at some of the user experience features you'll discover on PSVR 2. All right. So let's take a look. Let's see here. The first is they say see-through view with PSVR 2, and stop me at any time, Wes. So I'm more than happy to stop and talk about all of this as you want. With PSVR 2, you can see your surroundings, while wearing the headset with our new see-through feature. Do you think pass-through is like trademarked or something, or a copyrighted term, like see-through?
I think Sony likes to have kind of their own nomenclature. They're very much, and one of the things you'll notice as we look through this is Sony always likes to stay on brand with everything they do. If they're an expert at anything, it's at proliferating the PlayStation brand, right? And I just think this is more of that.
Excellent. Yeah, and it's fine with me. Pass through makes sense, I think, to anybody who's into VR, but I think that see-through is a term that everyone's already familiar with. Pass-through is something that you're like, oh, what does pass-through mean? See-through, just automatically you're like, oh, you can see through the headset. Like that's
clear. I don't think it's invisible.
It doesn't require any explanation. It comes in handy when you want to easily check out where the PSVR 2 Sense controllers are in your living room without taking the headset off. Now, Wes, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I'm concerned because when I put on my Quest, it knows where the controllers are, and it shows it. It's like, oh, here's your controller. It's a virtual image of my Quest 2 controller that looks just like the real thing, and it's in real space. Hopefully you'll see the exact same thing with PSVR 2, and I'm just reading into this, right? Like when you put the headset on, it's like, oh, here's your space, but also here's your controller. Here's a virtual image of your controller, and it points it out to you nice and easily. Am I reading too much into this? I don't know.
Probably. I think that they're just trying to come up with something that people can relate to easily.
They should. If they want to relate to people, they should be and know where your pets are. That should have been not where your sense controllers are. To make sure you don't step on Tornado, Brian, is exactly what they should have put in the blog post. 7 people reading this would have understood what they were talking about. But like, I mean, come on, know where your pets are. Don't step on your pets. Rule number 1 in VR.
Don't kick the bong over, right?
Don't kick the bong over. Jesus, that just brought me back. Okay, thanks to PSVR 2's embedded front cameras, users can press the function button on the headset or use the card in the control center to switch between viewing your surroundings or viewing the content on PSVR 2. The card in the control center also gives you quick access to other PSVR 2 settings, such as adjusting your play area. Okay, there's a little bit to unpack here. This is the first time in a while that we've heard about a new button on the PSVR 2 headset. We'd seen the manual IPD slider dial. I already pointed out to people where the USB-C cable attaches, right? And so we've sort of dissected everything that we can see. However, we have yet to see the underside of the PSVR 2 headset, right? We're all familiar with what's on the bottom of the PSVR 1 headset. There's volume control for your headphones, and a mute button. And then like the little button that allows you to slide the headset in and out. But we've yet to see any of this stuff on PSVR 2. We don't know what's under the hood. And by under the hood, I mean underneath, the undercarriage.
Well, let me ask you this, just out of curiosity. I'll just cards on the table with my other headsets. And by the way, every inside-out tracked headset has this pass-through feature. It's nothing new. I don't ever use it. Like, it's not something that I ever use ever. And I think a lot of the reason why is because I started on PlayStation VR and I'm just used to looking down, and giving myself a little gap.
Yeah.
So if you had to pick, if you had your choice of features on this new headset, either a see-through button or the old-fashioned PSVR slide the thing in and out, which one would you rather have?
Well, your question infers that we won't have both.
Well, yes, it does, admittedly, but I'm curious.
I mean, honestly, yeah, I use the pass-through only when Quest 2 forces me to just use the pass-through. 5 times during a single walkabout game where it says, oh, we lost tracking. Thanks so much, Quest. We lost tracking. You have to now tell me where the floor is again and redraw your play area. 5 times. Is it just me, or is Quest tracking getting worse in its old age? I never used to have this problem until the last couple months, and now it's constant. It's a mess.
Yeah, they break it quite a bit with their updates, and then it'll get better for a while, and then it'll get worse again. I don't know what's going on with it, but you're absolutely right. It has gotten worse.
Interesting. All right, man. Well,
it's terrible at low light too, by the way. If you got to have a couple light bulbs going at least. If you want that thing to track.
I've got studio lighting in here for the show. Not that I use it because I like to be in darkness, but I put on floodlights and shit, and when I play. And I point it away, so it's just creates a nice glow in my play area. And I'm like, if this isn't perfect lighting, I feel bad for anyone who doesn't have perfect lighting, because I just don't even know what to tell you. So there's a function button on the PSVR 2 headset itself, and it allows you to switch between pass through and in the game, which is really nice. But then they talk about cards. And if you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you know that I think cards are dumb, really dumb. I don't like the way they're implemented. I think they're overly complicated, and people will laugh at me and be like, Brian, why are you so dumb? How come you can't figure out cards? And I'll tell you, I don't know. I just ignore that entire section of the PlayStation 5 UI. I just don't like it. Just why is it so stupid? Just give me normal settings. Give me normal menus. But one of the cards will allow you to bring up this menu here, and we can see that there's an option to view surroundings. And before, you know what? Let's talk about this real quick. Well, like I said, while we wanted an in-depth conversation, we're going fucking in-depth on this shit. Do you think we're going to be accessing this menu and like using analog sticks and just tapping, buttons and stuff to navigate it? Or do you think we're going to have a real-time pointer to just like be able to point at the view surroundings button and just click the trigger?
Well, I mean, we may be jumping ahead a little bit here.
Yeah,
but I
maybe.
think one of the things that this article kind of points to is that, well, allow me to jump back a little bit, back to June, when we last had our last bit of news. And when we were really dissecting all the blog posts from that day,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things we pointed out was that they continually stated that the PSVR2 hardware was still in development. And we wondered what that meant. I think now we can see what that meant. What it meant was the software end of things is still kind of being developed. And as we read through this,
Mm-hmm.
It's very obvious that those with dev kits don't have access to this software end of things yet. So I think that they're going as quickly as they can. I think it could be a little bare bones at first for that reason.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, we could see things being implemented, not only with pointers from our controllers, but we could have laser eyes, Brian, with the eye tracking.
Ooh, I always wanted laser eyes. How did they know? So good.
Exactly.
Right.
But yeah, I think that this is going to very much be a work in progress through the first year, probably, and it will continue to improve as time goes on.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about like the virtual space and everything like that in a little bit as we get closer to the bottom of this article, which we are nowhere near. It also gives us a chance to adjust the screen brightness, the system screen size, which, am I wrong? I think I said in my breaking news report that the system screen size is the cinema screen, the thing that we're all used to seeing. You jump into the PlayStation 4 or 5 on PSVR 1 and you see a cinema screen, just like a projected screen basically of of your home screen. If you play a flat screen game, you watch a movie, it's all kind of like in this virtual cinema screen. Do you think that's what they're referring to by system screen size?
Very much the same thing that you do in the Quest menu, where you can make it small, medium, or large. Or if you're watching something in the web browser, you can resize that by clicking and dragging with your controller. I think that's a similar function there. So yes, to answer your question, yes.
I think we all thought the same thing, B-Tribble. He says, eye tracking. I can finally be a Homelander. That's great. The dream sequence, by the way, the only thing I didn't like about The Boys, I know this is way off topic, the only thing I didn't like about The Boys was the Homelander dream sequence when he went berserk. And I was like, don't be a dream, don't be a dream, don't be a dream, don't be a dream. And then it was a dream or fantasy. I was like, fuck you. Like, it's the only time they pulled a punch in that show. This is one that we assumed was going to be the case, but it's good to see it's nice and easily accessible, because some games are going to probably screw this up somehow. Some developers are going to overuse it. But the VR headset vibration, we know that there's going to be haptics in the headset. Should be really good when you turn on, a car and drive club. You start the engine, or you're driving, and gives you like this sensation of speed or wind or rain or whatever in all these different games. Click on off, nice and easy, right?
Yeah, and again, people are different, and this could be something that a lot of people don't like. So yeah, wise to have it be optional. Options are always the VR player's best friend, and as many as they can pack into, system UI or even game settings, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And then these last two, the first one seems normal. Set play area, just draw your boundary, right? Just like so that way. And for anyone who, I guess we should probably be pretty clear about this, Wes. There's a lot of people here who have not jumped ship and not played Quest games, not played PC VR games. And so for the PlayStation VR 1, obviously you had to stand in full view of your camera. You start the thing up, it actually shows you in your play space and says, hey, watch out, don't trip on your cats or furniture or hurt yourself by punching a wall, right? And so you always had to stand facing the camera. This is a brave new world. This suddenly you have full access to turn 360. You don't have to worry about facing a camera. you're good to go. But it also means, like when I was playing Undead Citadel the other day, I thought I broke my hand because I punched my Master System bookshelf so hard that I almost broke Golden Axe Warrior and my hand in one fell swoop. And so like you've really got to be careful, because you could end up on the other side of your room just like as you casually take little steps here and there. And so with the pass through, you really want to create a nice, safe play area. You kind of draw a line, and which obviously we'll get to in a second. And so, and then the game will, or the headset will warn you, hey, you're getting way too close to the edge of your boundary. And so, being able to just like click the function button and set the play area nice and easily, very, very, very important. However,
Yeah.
go ahead. I don't want to move on
No, I
until
was
you're
going to
ready.
say, no, you're right. It is very important. Just coming from someone again who was at one time PSVR exclusive. When I moved into PC, I shattered a television, like completely destroyed
Oh no.
my television in my bedroom. Now, with that said, I still to this day play with my Guardian boundary off. I don't use it because it gets on my nerves so
Yeah.
damn much. I just turn it off.
I don't know if I knew I could turn it off. No, I know I don't. I know that I knew I couldn't turn it off because
You can turn it off.
I have to fucking reset it every every 20 minutes. And so I would definitely turn that shit off. I'll be turning that shit off tonight and definitely for tomorrow because the Labyrinth course comes out for Walkabout Mini Golf.
Yes, we just I got that yesterday. Haven't played it yet, but
Oh,
I'm very excited.
look at that. Listen, I say we cancel the rest of the show and then I just watch you play it because I'm going to be drooling.
Yeah, that's going to happen probably here in about 2 hours. So
Nice.
sure.
I'm excited. What's the last one, man? I'm confused. I don't know what adjust visibility means. Does this
Just
relate to some other
visibility.
VR thing? Yeah.
HDR. I guarantee that's an HDR setting. I don't
Yeah.
know if you have an HDR television or monitor, but
Mm-mm.
anytime you start up a game that is HDR enabled, you get this kind of brightness adjustment that's similar to what you see in a lot of horror games at the start, where you kind of, adjust it till you can barely see the picture, sort of thing. But when you do it with HDR, there's like 3 or 4 of them you have to do. Against white backgrounds, against black backgrounds. It's just a calibration for HDR screens.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I was absolutely completely confused by that, so that works out great. And then in this, here we go. In this, in the blog post, they also, you can see here that there's just an image, a black and white image of somebody looking through the see-through mode, the pass-through mode, and holding their dual sense controllers. I know it's a small image. I wonder if do I have a larger image of this? Did this change your perspective of how big the sense controllers are going to be? Did you see these pictures?
I expected them to be big like this. They are big. They're very big. But I expected this. I am glad that we can finally kind of put the rest of this. It better have a knuckle strap type thing. That's not happening. Like, obviously not
Hey,
happening.
hey,
It's
hey!
wrist strap.
Still in development, as we've already said. Still in, and I know that you want to put that shit to bed, but I do not want to put that shit to bed. This is, as far as I'm concerned, super duper important, especially when you have some kind of when you have the ability to track whether your fingers are on the buttons or not, and obviously some kind of hand tracking can easily go can be updated with a software update or be included with a software update. I think that this, because I've seen the sense controllers firsthand. This was not the first time I've seen them on somebody's hand. I think this picture's misleading because
Really?
this they look way bigger to me in this picture than when I've seen them before. I think we're all going to be a little bit surprised that they're actually fairly form fitting, that they're not these big bulbous things that go around your hand. I think we're going to be surprised because they are more compact than this picture seems to lend itself to.
Well, that's excellent to hear. Like, I have not seen them anywhere outside of the Sony promotional stuff. So, this was pretty much in line with what I was expecting. But if, maybe this is just somebody with little baby hands, or it could be like a an aspect ratio thing with the pass through cameras.
I think that's
Like
more
it's
it.
not,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But still, from by all reports, they feel really great to use. So that's the most important thing. The fact that you can forget about them being on your hands, which knuckle straps would be really good for, Wes.
This is going to be a really there's going to be accessories
Mm-hmm.
that third party accessories that give you that if that's something you want. And look at the design of the thing. It's going to be simple to kind of DIY
Yeah.
knuckle straps for this thing. On day one, I'm sure you can find stuff around your house to do that. So
Yeah, sirens on my end. There's not a big. I'm not a big third party person. If something like isn't officially licensed first party Sony, I'm not usually interested in it. I just rather play with the official hardware. This is something that I would buy day one. If somebody was like knuckle straps or the PSVR2 Sense controllers, I'd be like, yeah, give me let's. I'll buy 100 of them. I'll do a huge giveaway on the channel. Like everyone can play like me. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Cegitebe. Segitabe. Get a B with a $5 tip says I'm a mature adult with a business degree and I can't wait for PSVR 2. I must have missed the context of that. Sorry, I haven't been keeping a great eye on the chat. But thank you so much for the support and congratulations on your business degree.
I am an immature adult who dropped out of college, and I can't wait either.
I didn't drop out of college, but I certainly do not have a business degree. Got my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree is what I have. So that's why the channel looks spectacular. Sorry. Couldn't even finish without laughing. All right, man, we have a lot more to go through here, so let's do it. Let's see. How do I interact with this thing? Oh, because I'm clicking on the wrong thing. OBS, you're so good looking. Let's see. We talked about see-through. Where do we end up? The card control. The see-through view is just for... Okay, the see-through view is just for viewing only, so there's no recording option. Thank goodness. Because the last thing I want to do is be streaming and have to switch over to see-through mode and have everybody see the filth that I call
It's the worst, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like with the PSVR 1, we were all kind of happy to play our games on PS5, and I'm sure that most of us are using capture cards now. It kind of sucks, right? When one of these games has compatibility issues, and then the game crashes while you're live, and you have to boot it back up and go through that little window there. Like everybody has to see your bullshit.
Yep.
So yeah, this is a relief.
It is
big
a relief. And so this definitely leads us into the next part of the article. It says broadcast yourself while playing. And you can see here that there's a person playing in PSVR. This is outside of the unfortunate leak that BitPlanet had put out there showing their PSVR 2 retail kit. This is the first time we've seen anybody using a PSVR 2. This is the first time we've seen anything other than the original the original official press kit images that Sony revealed in the PlayStation blog. This is kind of cool to see somebody using, and this person just again looks kind of small. They look like a small person, right? Maybe probably not very tall. Probably the same person you saw in the pictures prior, and so this might give you an idea as to why those Sense controllers look so big, because they look like they're 5'5", 5'6", something along those lines. I'm just guessing. It's hard to tell, but that's my guess.
They look like the giant hands about to pick them up and throw them into the jaws of that beast.
Yeah. I wonder if this is an actual shot or if this was just. I highly doubt this is a real image. This is just they took this cool image from Call of the Mountain, and then they just had someone pretend like they were playing PSVR 2, and then they just put it to combine the two images. And the reason for that, I'll say here. Let's see. The new broadcast feature for PSVR 2 will allow you to film yourself. I can't read. That's really, really small. Film yourself while playing by connecting a PS5 HD camera to the console. It's a great way to show your movements and reactions during a boss battle and share your reactions with your fellow gamers as it happens. Now, what they're showing here, Wes, is that they're showing somebody who looks like they're standing in front of a green screen. But there's
Yeah,
no green
and
screen. There's no background to this. Do you think this is all part of the whole PlayStation 5 HD camera thing? Do you think that the fidelity is going to actually be this good for like AI removal of background?
yes, I think that. Well, I mean, obviously, um, there could be consistency issues with it. I think at times it could be this good, certainly, maybe all the time. But I mean, Skype has background removal, Zoom has background removal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using it right now, with my graphics card. So yeah, I absolutely think PS5 is powerful enough to, to do this kind of AI based stuff, and I would hope that that camera is good enough. So yeah, absolutely.
Good, 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 good. Yeah, I have never used like any AI background removal, and it looks pretty good on you right now. But doesn't everything look good on Wes, ladies and gentlemen? That's right, it fucking does. Um, and so yeah, so hopefully it works just as well, and it looks as good as this picture shows off here. Because I really do think, I think personally that the best marketing Sony can possibly have for PSVR2 is exactly what they're showing here in this picture. It's not going to be blog posts. It's not going to be advertisements. It's not going to be whatever. It's not going to be store displays, and it's going to be tens or hundreds of thousands of people streaming games like Call of the Mountain and showing themselves in VR exactly this way. This is their best way to advertise their games, and also it's totally free. And to have so many people enjoying the games, showing people get scared in VR, showing people be excited in VR, this is an amazing, amazing way of marketing. And so being able to include this with the PlayStation 5 HD camera and making it easy for people to stream is super important, because we didn't get that on PSVR 1. We get the stupid fisheye lens that was running at 720/30, right, which looked awful, and the only, and you couldn't see yourself on the camera, right? You couldn't broadcast yourself along with it, so you only saw the person was playing. The chat system was terrible. Hopefully they fixed the chat system, and on top of it all, the one thing it had going for it was the amazing microphone in the PSVR 1 headset. I feel like the sound quality on that is yet to be matched anywhere. Like, I don't think this Shure mic is great by comparison. I've got these great the Arctis headset for when I stream. That mic is garbage by comparison. The PSVR 1 microphone was amazing. And so hopefully they make this real simple. Tap the share button or broadcast button, create button, that's what they call it now. Tap the create button, and here you go. You can share without jumping through all these fucking hoops that you and I have to jump through to stream a game, right? And then everybody can be a streamer and actually have it look good. I think this is super important. I'm glad they're like taking steps to do this.
Yeah, I have a confession to make here. I don't do pre-recorded videos a lot anymore, so I'm still using the video editing software that I used back when I started, 4 years ago. And it's I don't own a license for it. I'm not going to say which one it is, but I pirated it. It's pirated software. but listen, I didn't pirate it because I didn't want to pay for something. The reason I pirated it was because I had to get an older version. The newer version did not remove fisheye distortion. I had to go back like 2 versions to find a video editor that's easy for beginners, because again, I'm not classically trained. I'm self-taught. I had to find something easy for beginners that removes fisheye distortion. So I had to pirate an older copy with an older license, because they force you, if you buy it, they force you to update it to the newer version, which didn't have that. But yeah, I have pirated video editing software because PSVR capture was so shitty, and that's what I started on, was PSVR capture. So yeah, that's my little side story there.
People are already telling me in the chat, and I apologize for being behind the times on this, that the PlayStation 5 HD camera already does what we're asking it to do on flat screen games. Makes perfect sense. This is just again, I just don't care about flat screen games. I've tried, I really have. I've tried, and I did get into Days Gone a little bit. But yeah, I haven't been doing a whole lot of flat screen gaming. Although I just recently started playing the Angry Video Game Nerd AVGN game on Switch, and it's so good. It's so
Is it
good.
good?
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, if you like
Got
classic,
those.
like,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, I've got those in my Steam library. It came in a bundle I picked up recently. Both of the AVGN games.
Nice. Yeah, I got it directly from screenwave.com, and I've always loved AVGN. I think he's hilarious, and obviously, right up my retro alley. So, so when I saw that I could get it directly from them, I was like, oh, this is very cool. And Switch seems like the place I want to play it. Just so many inside jokes, and the control is so good, and like there's like 7 difficulty levels, like which means the game gets insanely hard, and definitely perfect for anybody who's into old school difficult like Mega Man style platformers, and obviously loves AVGN.
Braxbro says Fred fuck.
Nice. I keep finding Shit Pickle on every level, and he falls off the screen, and I'm like, am I supposed to be catching him or something? I have no idea, but somebody in the chat probably tell me. I saw somebody platinumed it. There it is, Defunct Bomb Brother Game Cat. Good job. I bet that's fucking difficult as hell. I will not be getting the platinum because I can only assume that you have to play on some of the hardest difficulty levels, and I'm good at the default level, which is already hard enough. It's difficult but fair. Let's get back on topic with Old Darth, a PSVR2 gaming hound dog, roof, with a Canadian $5 tip, says, will eye tracking software part of OP system, or devs have to incorporate it into game code? Also, visibility equals how bright the Guardian boundary is displayed. That makes a lot of sense. You could have the boundary be kind of dim when you kind of like encounter it. That makes a lot of sense.
Possibly, yeah. But will the eye tracking software be part of the operating system, or are devs going to have to incorporate it into the game code? I imagine there'll be a really easy plug and play SDK for devs to implement this stuff with. That's kind of what they're paying Pico for, right? Is to kind of simplify this stuff and have the software ready.
Yeah. As a non-developer, I just kind of smile and nod when shit like this comes up, and I go, I don't know. I don't know. But, certainly find out the answer for you. If I can. Don't think it'll be difficult. Okay, we need to get back to the article here. So let's do that. You can see here this video of scanning the room. All you're doing is just kind of like looking around the room, and it's filling in kind of this blue mesh. And it's recognizing your couch and your fan and your TV and all this stuff. And this is something we had heard prior to all of this, that the PlayStation VR2 headset actually does automatically scan your room pretty well. And so to actually see visual proof of this and see exactly how it looks is pretty cool. And so this can kind of, I'm assuming this would be to define your play space without having to start drawing boundaries and stuff, right?
Right. Yeah, you'll probably get an automatic suggestion that you can very easily edit for a quick and easy setup. Right. They've already talked about how easy the setup is, so I think this just kind of illustrates that.
And dude, the setup better be easy. Like for as much as I love PSVR1, I did not like turning it on and having to wait, and then it brings you to the screen where you see yourself, and then you have to, like, there's a warning screen, and you have to wait. It makes you like stare at the warning screen for like 5 seconds before it even gives you the option to say okay, and then you see yourself in your play space. You have to hit okay again, and you pick up your Move controller and you turn it on, and it brings you to like the home screen where it's and it sounds like I'm just bitching about like simple stuff, like silly stuff, right? But really, it's this barrier to entry. It's like I want to be able to put on my headset, pick up my controllers, and be like, boom, okay, you're in the menu. What game do you want to play? Let's do this, right? Why do I have to assign a Move controller to the user, right? Give me an option to assign it to a different user, but because 99.9% of the time, whoever's holding the controllers is the same user. We're not going to have one person holding one controller and another person holding another controller. The fact that you have to do it for both Move controllers every single fucking time you start the PlayStation VR headset up is just so silly. And it's like these little things that just add up and go, you guys didn't really think this through, did you? Right? It just seems overly complicated. And when I say complicated, I'm like not difficult, just waste of time. It's like, ugh,
Friction. As we talk about this a lot.
friction.
Friction, right?
Yes.
This stuff adds up, and you're right. It would have been easy enough for them to say, "Okay, Brian's logged in. We can assume that anyone who turns on a controller right now
Yep.
is probably Brian."
Yep. Brian lives by himself. Brian doesn't play local co-op games. Brian doesn't play games with other people. It's fucking Brian. Like, just, it's right. And I think, and I don't think I'm in the minority here. I'm not talking about like a small sect of gamers who only play, a certain way. I think I would say most of the people who are playing VR are playing exactly the same way as me. So just let us put on the headset, turn it on, pick up the controllers, and get into a game. Make it as simple as possible. Customized play area. The play area for PSVR2 can be customized by using the PSVR2 Sense controllers and the embedded cameras. The cameras will allow you to scan the room, while the PSVR2 Sense controllers allow you to expand and further customize the play area to fit your play style and room environments. I don't know if there's a lot to unpack here specifically, but I will say that I do love these images.
Yes, I was hoping you pointed this out because this is pretty boring stuff. It's pretty standard for what VR has been in the interim over the last few years. But again, I love how PlayStation stays on brand, right? And I love the little X's or crosses.
The sacred symbols, man.
Yeah, love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, this looks really, really cool. And I know this is actually, man, I wonder if I can find this comment here. Running a PSVR2 channel means that I am 100% a target for people who don't like PSVR or are already against PSVR2 for some reason. And so, hold on, I gotta bring up this comment, and we'll give a troll the spotlight for a second here, because usually we just ignore them.
I love the console wars mentality, right?
Right. So Frank Thompson, who said the best thing the PSVR had over the Oculus and other VR headsets was the aim controller. Sony has to make another one. So he did say something positive, I will say that. But he says, so how is it next-gen VR when it's showing the same functionalities as on an Oculus Quest 2? Quest 2 is still this gen, in my opinion. It's
not wrong.
Well, he's not wrong when it comes to this, right? It's like, yes,
right.
This is like standard. It's like, I think it's important for Sony to show these types of things. Everybody out there is asking about these types of things. If Sony doesn't tell you, they're scared it doesn't exist, right? Because
that's true. That's very true. Like, especially the naysayers out there, that until Sony explicitly says something is the way it's obviously going to be, there's always doubt. So you're right.
And I think for good reason, because Sony has, not been 100%, on top of their shit all the time. And so it's good that they're doing this, but yes, I do agree. This looks very much like the Quest 2 user experience. But it's also sort of become standard, and so it's important for Sony to tell people, hey, don't worry, like anything that you expect our headset to have, like anything you'd expect, from the competition, we also have that in our headset, and with any luck, it's gonna work even better, right? We don't know this specifically, but my fingers are crossed, because there's certainly problems with tracking on Quest, and the boundaries, of course, on Quest as well. But this is such a great image. I love the little sacred symbols. It's so silly. It's such a fanboy thing to enjoy. But man, I do love Sony and I love PlayStation, and so it's hard not to smile a little bit when you see the sacred symbols as part of your rug.
100%. I love it. I loved it when they put it in the little grain texture on the DualSense controller.
Yep.
I love it. I too am a PlayStation fanboy, and that was the first thing I noticed when I browsed over this article initially. Was like, there they are.
So Shen Miaozo with the $5 says early PSVR games had a simple in-game pointer at your feet, which you could look down at to orientate. Is this less intrusive than a boundary system?
You know what's less intrusive than a boundary system for me? My chair, and I'll be using it frequently with this PSVR 2 the way I do today. But yeah, I guess so.
What is the
The thing that
what is the simple in-game pointer at your feet? Is he just saying like there's like feet where
the,
you stand where the game tells you to, or
yeah, the icon that tells you where your in-game feet are.
okay,
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
okay, I hated that. In fact, there were games early on in PSVR lifespan like I was trying for my 50 hidden gems in 50 days. I was trying to stream Batman Arkham Asylum, and I couldn't because there was a couch where the game wanted me to stand. And I was like, well, I either pick a different game to stream or I move my couch. And I'm like, I'm not
Well,
moving my couch. Like we've gotten past all of that where you can just hold the start button and it recalibrates and says, okay, now where you're standing is the center of the action, right? We
yeah,
don't need.
that's what it's supposed to do, though, right? Like if you see those feet and they're not matching where your feet is, it doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean you need to walk to them. What it means is you need to recenter yourself if you think you're where you're supposed to be,
in
and it should
Batman
just
Arkham
snap in.
Asylum, in Batman Arkham Asylum, that is not how it works. And I was shocked and appalled because I was like, this is crazy. Because you're right, that is 100% the way things went. It was like, oh yeah, this is where we think you should be standing. Sweet. And if it's not, hold start, recalibrate, and then okay, this makes much more sense. Here's the new feed. It's not the case in Arkham Asylum. And so I was like, well, maybe I can still play it, right? Maybe I can get into the game and recenter or whatever. Nope, I couldn't even get close enough to the piano to like even do the things to start the game. And so I'm glad we've come a long way since then. Yeah, Shenmue, as I answer your question, I think this is about the least intrusive type of boundary system we could absolutely ask for, especially if you're like me and you have a small apartment and you have a limited play space. I think this is as close to perfect as VR manufacturers have figured out so far. Maybe there'll be a better system in the future, but I haven't seen one yet.
There are more accurate systems. The early PCVR outside in systems are more accurate than inside out tracking,
Hmm.
but that comes at a cost. A lot of setup and a lot of cumbersome things that people aren't going to want to have to do.
You
So
kind of need a
it's a
dedicated VR room, right? Like because you have to
yeah,
install these
yeah,
sensors on your wall. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's a big trade off. Um, for a little bit more performance. Inside out tracking, for the most part, in recent years, is more than good enough, and is certainly leagues ahead of the old PSVR system.
Yeah. Let's see here. Can't. Okay, good. We can continue on now that I found my spot. It says, while playing, if you get close to the boundary you've set up, you'll receive a warning that you're closely approaching the play area boundary. You can modify your settings at any time while PSVR2 is connected. Once you set up your play area, the settings will be saved unless you move to a different play area. Again, really reassuring knowing that, hey, I always play VR in the exact same place in my room. The PSVR or the PlayStation 5 and PSVR 2 know that I'm in the exact same place. I don't have to create a new boundary. I don't have to worry about that. Boom, let's get into a game as fast as possible, which is really, really nice.
Well, let's hope that it works and function like that, because that's in theory that's what Quest is supposed to do.
In theory.
But like if you move a pillow 2 feet or your cat's sitting in a different place for some reason, sometimes it makes it forget.
Yeah, I've had to redraw it every single time lately, and so I do need to just turn it off completely now that I know that I can. And then we move into one of the final segments. I already forget his name. Takahashi is yep, Yasuo Takahashi gives us, and that is the VR mode and cinematic mode, which will certainly lead to, I think, an interesting discussion. He says, in VR mode, players can enjoy VR game content in a 360 view in a virtual environment. Content will be displayed in 4000 by 2040 HDR video format, 2K per eye, with 90 hertz or 120 hertz frame rate. He's basically saying you can play in VR, right? I mean, like, is that not what he's saying? You can be in VR mode and play a VR game, and it's what you think of as VR.
It is 100% what he's saying, but I cannot help but get giddy by one more time looking over the specs that we've known for a year. 4000 by 2040 HDR is going to be a game changer. HDR is we haven't seen it yet in consumer VR. This is another big deal that I don't think people quite understand what a difference it's going to make yet. So excited.
Wes, as somebody who has a TV from 12 years ago, maybe longer, I've got a 1080p plasma Panasonic, right? And I bought it when God of War 3 came out because I was like, I need to see this game in HD. I have not upgraded. I most of the stuff that I stream, I don't care about the resolution. I don't care about what shit on my television looks like. But I am very, very interested in the huge upgrade that PlayStation VR2 will be over PSVR1. For somebody like me, and I'm sure there's going to be some cats in the chat who are in a similar position, sell me on HDR. Why is it such a game changer? Why is it a big deal?
Well, it's just a lot more of the same thing that made PSVR1 kind of have the legs that it did have. You know, a lot of games, even today, look better on PSVR because of the color depth, because of the contrast, because the blacks are black. I'm sure you can tell a difference going into your Quest. Even in games with good resolution and
Right.
have sharp textures, there's a lot of gray black, right? And a lot of washed out colors. This is going to be the mirror opposite of that, and as much better as the old PSVR OLED screens were with in this regard. This is to the nth degree better than that. Like
Nice.
it's very bright screens with very black blacks, very vivid colors. It's going to be a pretty big deal.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of people in the chat are reflecting what you're saying. Nakazaka says, pretty colors. Shin Miyazo says, it feels like it adds more depth because it makes things pop more, which, again, not something I care about on on a flat screen. I don't care about depth on a flat screen. I was playing Days Gone, and I was like, this looks beautiful. And I don't need games on my flat screen to look any better than my 1080p plasma, right? But again, VR is a radically different thing. Immersion is important, and all these subtle details are going to be a huge game changer. Also, Dark Angel, thank you for getting here. It's okay that you're late. Please wipe your feet as you enter or take your shoes off. Either one, I don't care. Jack Scott with the Australian $5 tip. Rare says, long-time watcher, first-time donor. Thank you for all the great work you and all the other hosts do. It's really the other hosts. I just change screens and stuff and just smile and nod and play with Tornado. Wes does all the hard work. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. All right, Tornado has officially taken over, so I'm going to have to use the mouse over here in front of me where I don't have a mouse pad. So let's continue on. I thought you were going to go answer the phone.
No, the phone's broken now. I threw it very hard.
The final paragraph of the informative section, I just made up words. In cinematic mode, players can view the PlayStation 5 system and UI and all... I feel like this is a run-on sentence already. View the PS5 system and UI and all non-VR game and media content on a virtual cinema screen. Content in cinematic mode will be displayed in 1920 by 1080 HDR video format with 24 or 60 hertz and also 120 hertz frame rate. I feel like this is kind of a jumbled statement. I'm actually surprised that this hasn't been edited since the original blog post, and maybe I'm dumb. I'm more than happy to admit that, but he's talking about a couple different things here, and I think I saw in our Discord. Remember to click the link in the description below to join our Discord. People were concerned about the cinematic mode being displayed in such a low resolution. Do you think he's referring to per eye, as he was referring to 2K per eye in the last paragraph, or do you think it's actually going to run at this low of a resolution?
I think it's actually going to run at this lower resolution. It's the same thing we saw on PS4, right? It's 1080p in the headset, but on the screen, and if you broadcast it, it was 720p. I think very much that's what's going on here. This is all cool. I mean, it's pretty cool because, you do get to take advantage of some of the features of the headset, notably the HDR, the high frame rate. So, I mean, Sony just recently launched a set of very expensive monitors for people to play their PS5 flat games on. It seems like, unless you're just really a stickler for that 4K, that you're going to be able to get a decent experience here out of the headset. What I want though, and what I was kind of a little bit bummed that they haven't mentioned in this paragraph, I want 3D cinema mode.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the games that don't have a VR mode, I want to play on a virtual screen in 3D. This can be done easily, and it
Yeah,
would be a big selling point to traditional gamers. I feel like.
I think so too. I'm also concerned that again, since Sony hasn't said it, and since they're kind of saying it here a little bit, I am very much concerned that we're not getting any kind of virtual environment when we turn on the PSVR2 headset. Just like PSVR1, I feel like we're gonna. And again, I hope I'm wrong, but man, when I turn on the PSVR1 and all I see is a cinematic version of the PS4 home screen or the PS5 home screen, just like a floating screen out there. It would be really nice to be able to say, hey, this is your customized PlayStation VR2 home screen in a virtual environment. And right now, and maybe I'm just reading too far into this, or maybe I'm too negative Nancy today, but it does seem like it's going to be the exact same thing. And you turn it on, you see the PlayStation 5 home screen, and you have to just like boom boom boom, like go find your game and do it that way. Cycle through all the non VR games to get to the one you want to play.
You very well could be right. I think the jury's still out on this. I think the fact that they mention and pretty much confirm that all of your menus and things are going to be on flat screens, virtual screens in VR, doesn't really speak to whether you're going to be in a virtual environment or not. Quest, Steam VR, all of this stuff uses flat panel screens that pop up in front of you, and you do your selections or what have you.
Yeah.
Some of them put you in virtual environments, others don't. And I think the jury is very much still out on that here. And I think this could be one of those things, like we were talking about earlier. Even if it's kind of bare bones at launch, I would fully expect that by the end, or at least midway through the life cycle of the headset, that they're going to start to implement things like virtual environments and so on.
Yeah. I will say that right off the bat, it's going to be way easier to even if the worst case scenario we do end up with just a flat PlayStation 5 home screen. It's going to be way easier to navigate those things than it would be currently, because right now I feel like the UI runs so slowly on PlayStation 5 with PSVR 1 that when you're using a Move controller, when you switch back to the PlayStation 5 home screen, and you have to hold the trigger and drag your hand across, and hopefully you get to the tile that you want, or you have to hold the PlayStation button down and go down to that sub menu on the bottom of the screen and have to like turn the controllers on and off. It immediately being able to use an analog stick to access everything, or hopefully just pointing at the screen with a laser pointer, hopefully makes all of these things so much easier. And so, I mean, even if this is all we get, we don't get a virtual space, I do think that it's still going to be a huge improvement over what we're currently using.
Dude, it's what we're using currently is a nightmare. If you want to switch from party chat to game chat, you have to be an expert in the PS5 UI, because it is not easy to find. Even with someone telling you exactly what to do, it's still hard to find it. And I found that out the hard way more than once.
Nick the Game Cat House says PS5 makes shutting off your controller so hard when watching Netflix. It's true. There's just so many things. I feel like we're still in the beta phase of PlayStation 5. Everybody who bought one prior to now, I mean, we don't even have folders yet, man. Folders were such a huge. I'll stop complaining.
Why don't we have voice command? Why doesn't PS5 or PSVR2 have like an Alexa? Like,
I don't know.
Launch Horizon VR, Alexa, start up, contact Brian, let's party, stuff like that. Should be rather easy.
Yeah, and then I find out that I talk in my sleep because games start launching in the middle of the night. You ever have do you ever have her talking back to you in the middle of the night when there's nothing happening? You like wake up to the sound of her telling you some internet search result, and you're like, what is going on? Yeah.
Luckily, she's not in my room, but I do hear her in the kitchen talking to no one sometimes. So.
All right, man, let's get to the final paragraph here. It says PSVR2 game developers will begin to access the latest user experience for PSVR2 in a new system software release coming soon. It's out, by the way, as part of the ongoing development. There are lots of exciting things to look forward to for PSVR2. Yeah, we know. Now just fucking tell us. And we can't wait to share more details about our next generation virtual reality headset. We're not quite at the character limit yet. That takes a dramatic leap forward in gameplay innovation. We'll share more information soon, including the launch date, and additional games coming to the platform. Again, lots to unpack here. Sony has proven again and again that when they say soon, they mean fuck you. We'll tell you when we're ready. So soon, this doesn't instill me with a whole lot of faith that next week we're going to get some launch information, or that we're going to get another showcase soon, or anything like that. To me, because I mean when they revealed the Sense controllers initially, they're like, we'll have more information about PSVR 2 soon, and it was a fucking year before CES came around and we saw more information about PSVR 2. Like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. So like they've sort of proven that maybe we just ignore when they say soon.
Yeah. For what it's worth, though, I do feel like this soon is a little sooner than their normal soon. And I can't help but be a little bit excited because they're telling us exactly what the next thing is going to be. Like, typically they just say more info soon, and that's that. Right. They're telling us next time we say something, we're going to tell you when you can buy it and what games are coming. That's what we've been waiting for from the very beginning. So whether this turns out to be next week or another 2-month gap like this last one, relatively soon, most of the questions are going to be answered. And that's a big relief for me because we've been speculating for years. Feels like forever now, right?
3 years, I feel like, yeah. Yep. So two things I want to talk about. First is, do you think he's pointing to the September event? Usually Sony, historically at least, does a big showcase in September, and considering that we're, literally 3 days away from August. I don't really see them doing something in August just to turn around and do something massive in September. Do you think that that's the next time we'll hear something from them?
I think it's certainly very likely. I've always expected that there's going to be a significant PSVR 2 presence during the next big PlayStation 5 showcase. Now, of course, they could always do a VR specific state of play before then. Mm-hmm. Certainly, there's a lot to discover soon. I mean, a lot to discover before launch, including the library that they can certainly do multiple events if they want to. But I feel like the next one's the big one, and certainly for those of you out there who believe that this is going to launch this year, if this is going to launch this year, yes, September will be when they reveal it. They'll tell us the launch date. They'll tell us when we can pre-order. All that will come very quickly in September-ish.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably September, but not set in stone. We could get something sooner than that. That's only. By the way, September, 5 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks from now. That's not that far.
Yeah, and it's usually early in September too when they do the showcase. 6 weeks out basically, which isn't a whole lot of time unless you have to fill each of those 6 weeks with 3 PSVR GameCast live. So I apologize in advance for the next 6 weeks. It's gonna be slow. So the big question, of course, he says, including launch date and additional games coming to the platform. I'm very, very curious to know, because Jim Ryan went out there with his slideshow PowerPoint presentation and said that there will be more than 20 major PSVR 2 games at launch. And he says major, right? And so that kind of leads you to believe that, we're not going to have 3 or 4 AAA games and a bunch of indie titles all mixed in there at launch. It sounds like they're going to have 20 major games. He said major games, which means, maybe not AAA, but maybe single A or high profile games. Because you could look at something like Phasmophobia and go, well, that's very indie, but it's also very high profile, right? And I would consider that to be a major title to be there at launch. Do you think? He said since he said an additional games coming to the platform, and he didn't specify, and we're going to fill you in on, the launch date and all the launch titles. Do you think they're going to kind of speckle? Is that a word?
Sprinkle.
Spatter, sprinkle. Sprinkle's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, sprinkle. Good one. They're going to sprinkle these game announcements over. Give us some in September, and then give us some more in October, November, December, the whole thing? Or do you think we're going to finally find the entire launch lineup the next time they talk?
I think that they're going to very much continue to follow the precedent that they've set with the PS5 marketing and life cycle. Now, if history or if we could go by the PSVR1 precedent, the way they did it then was they gave us the most of the launch titles at one time, and then they added a few into it. I think it's going to be a little different this time. I think that they're going to give us during the initial kind of reveal, they're going to give us enough to make people very excited. But if Sony's been good at anything during the PS5 marketing during the lifespan, they're pretty good at holding their cards and only giving us just enough. So I think we could probably get a good 2 or 3 different chunks of excitement between now and launch, depending on how soon it comes, obviously. Yeah. But I think we're going to get a lot at once. I don't think they'll give it all to us at once.
Yeah, I mean they do need to maintain excitement for still quite a few months here, and so. But we saw with the state of play. We saw with the state of play that a little goes a long way, right? We saw. Hopefully, we get some clarification on whatever the hell's happening with Resident Evil 4. I think that was the strangest thing I'd seen in a long time. Some sort of like back out of that PlayStation VR2 announcement for Resident Evil 4, and then of course Village and No Man's Sky and Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution. Was that all we got during that? But a little went a long way. Oh, Horizon Call of the Mountain. It looked beautiful. Yeah. Seeing some gameplay footage of that. So really, it's like if there's 20 major PSVR2 launch titles, they can give us another 4 next time, and then another 4, and then a state of play with another 4, and that still doesn't get us to 20, unless I did my math wrong, which is totally possible. I apologize. So I think there's a lot of shit to be excited for between now and the end of the year, man. I think Sony's got a lot up their sleeve.
It's kind of the flip side, right, to the quiet. As that distance between now and launch gets shorter and shorter and shorter, that just means more concentration of good stuff between now and then, right? Like if they stretched it out over a year, maybe it wouldn't be as impactful, or there'd be a lot more gaps. But we're getting all the bullshit waiting out of the way up front. So at any time, the roller coaster could start.
Yep.
And it's full steam ahead all the way to launch day.
Agreed. And I feel like they're getting some of the, what would normally be considered boring stuff out of the way right now as well. It's like you don't want to be demonstrating the PlayStation VR2 user experience on stage at some Sony, showcase, right? You don't want a PlayStation showcase and have somebody being like, let me show you how to draw a boundary. Look, isn't it cool that there's sacred symbols on your carpet? Right, like that's cool for now because we've got no information. So like, let's get that out of the way. It's kind of boring stuff that we can sort of revel in while we wait for the exciting stuff. And so it is cool that they sort of got that out of the way now. And so when it's so when we do get to the showcase, they can focus on games and not have to worry about boring stuff like user experience.
Yeah, and I think we can kind of we've kind of wondered where's our PSVR focused state of play or event. I think the fact that they're giving us stuff like this now kind of points to the fact that there might not be that, right? Because if they were going to do it like a deep dive, this would be the kind of thing that they would put in that kind of as a buffer in between the big game announcements and things. So yeah, I think that you're probably right. Probably the September PS5 showcase is going to be the time, right, where they show their cards.
Yeah, and there are still a bunch of things that I think would be very cool for some of us hardcore PSVR 1 owners to learn about regarding PSVR 2. I see Paul Snyder in the chat saying, "I just really hope games are backwards compatible." I mean, talk about something that everyone asks every single time I post a video. Everyone's saying, "Will PSVR2 be backwards compatible? And whether the answer is yes or no, it would be really nice to have like a definitive answer. We know full well that a lot of developers out there are making their PSVR1 games. They're making a PS5, PSVR2 SKU for it, making sure they take advantage of the 4K resolution, the adaptive triggers, the haptics in the headset, all of that stuff, right? And of course the analog sticks to make it nice and easy to finally move around in these games. And so we know that's the case, and we know that a lot of developers are doing this. But there's a lot of developers that don't exist anymore, and there's a lot of developers who kind of like lost their way or just didn't sell enough copies during the PSVR1 era, and so those games are just going to disappear forever. Like, I mean, you know, we know that there's no chance in hell Preda Vendetta Rising is ever making an appearance on another headset ever again, right? I secretly love Blind Spot, which is just like this random weird first-person exploration puzzle game on PSVR1, but it was super blurry. I would love to play that, but every time I reach out to the developers, they're like, it's like crickets, man. Like I don't think they exist anymore. And so that's why I do think backwards compatibility is important, just so we can make sure we don't, you know, as far as like a game preservation standpoint, and as long as some of the, you know, there's plenty of games out there who will not see the light of day on another headset, will get stuck on PSVR1 forever if there's no backwards compatibility. So while I don't care that much, because most developers are going to, why am I going down this rabbit hole? I've had too much coffee. I don't care that much about backwards compatibility. I do. But like, you know, if most developers can make their games PSVR2 compatible with a new SKU, free upgrade please for PSVR2, then we're going to, that situation is going to be handled pretty well. But you know, so that's just one of the many, many, many things that Sony can cover between now and even a September showcase, or even cover after a September showcase. That's what the PlayStation blog has been really good for. Sorry, that was a long rant. I kind of lost my way there for a little bit.
Well, that's what we do very well here, right? Speculate.
Yeah. Is there anything since I brought us down this path, and I don't see any breadcrumbs to get us back. Are there other things that are important to you about the PSVR2 that like you would like to see a blog post about, like before the next big event?
Man, I mean, backwards compatibility, it would be cool. I'm not hanging my hat on that. I would prefer to pay for remakes, honestly, than to get free backwards compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of already touched on the 3D cinema screen. That's kind of always been a big one. I've been calling for that for years. I don't know, man. I mean, I could go into like specific games and stuff I'd like to see. You know, I want my Farpoint sequel and my aim controller part 2. I'd love to hear something about that very soon. But I mean, as far as like in general features, nothing really pops off. Like I have a pretty good grasp, I feel like, on what this is going to be, and it's pretty close to perfect. So, you know, I'm excited about what they've already, or what we've already heard. I guess maybe not from them, but from you. I'm pretty excited about what we know. You
know. Cosmo in the chat says, if it's not backwards compatible, then what would happen to staple games like Job Sim and Super Hot? Exactly what I said. I think those would be absolute perfect games to get a re-release on PSVR2, upgrade them for the higher resolution, upgrade them for the better controllers, and give those developers a chance to sell their upgraded, now PSVR2 quality or PSVR2 capable games to a brand new audience who might just be jumping into VR for the very first time. So I don't. With a developer like Alchemy Labs, I'd be hard pressed to see them not taking advantage of that, right? They are very, very active in the VR space. They are, you know, they've even games like Cosmonious High, I would totally expect to see on PSVR2. The only reason I think they didn't release it on PSVR2 was because they're not going to sell it. It's not, there's no customer base anymore on PSVR1. I'm not sure what I said, but you know what I mean. Jamie out with a $2 tip in the chat says 10 out of 10 webisodes. I think I made up a new word. 10 out of 10 Wes episodes in a row. Great chemistry. Thank you so much, Jay. It's been so good, this transition to 3 co-hosts every week, getting different perspectives and points of view on some of the same topics. It's been awesome, especially during a slow period. Yeah, Wes, I agree with Jay Mao. You're absolutely fucking killing it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm getting more comfortable with it. It was a little weird and unnerving for me at first because I have been following you for pretty much the whole time I've been playing VR. But yeah, I feel comfortable now, and I appreciate the compliment from you and Jay and everyone else who's been so cool to me. Thank you all.
Yeah, I don't take compliments well, or even the perception that, like, I'm somebody that, uh, I don't know, like, this has been a weird experience for me because, when I went on Colin's show recently, I was like nervous as fuck, and I was like, oh my god, I have somebody I've been watching for so long, and so to hear that there was a similar experience for you coming on this show was just one of those things that you don't really process very well. If you're somebody like me that has, like, whatever the opposite of an ego is, I'm like, I don't know, pretty self detrimental all the time. Self detrimental. That's accurate, but not what I was trying to say. Self deprecating, I guess, dude. I think the coffee's not doing its trick anymore. It's just making me talk a lot, but not saying anything of any kind of relevance. So let's get into the final part of the show, which is PSVR 20 questions. It means I have a game in my head, and Wes and all of you cats out there, you guys have 6 minutes and 20 yes or no questions to figure out what PSVR game I'm thinking of. Wes, whether you've played this one or not, I know that you know what it is.
Okay, well, that's good.
Right?
That's a good start.
I think
So
that's
that's a bonus question, right?
that's yeah, I would say that is a pretty big fucking hint right off the bat. So let me put 6 minutes up on the clock up on the counter, the way that
Is
Jeremy
it Grace,
likes it.
the Oblivion Afterlife?
Oh,
No,
damn
I'm
it, I don't even need the clock. All right, on your mark, get set, and go.
Is this a PlayStation VR exclusive?
I don't think so, but while you're answering questions, I'm going to look it up on Steam.
Is this developer done other PSVR games?
Okay, I don't see it on Steam, and I don't think it's on Quest, so it might by default be. I'm not going to count that first question because I didn't think it was an exclusive, but I don't see it anywhere else. So that's the best I got for you. What was the second question? Have they done anything else?
Have they done anything else on PSVR?
I'm going to say, let's look at the developer's name. As far as I know, no, they have not done anything else anywhere.
Interesting. Does this game use thumbsticks?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Does it support full locomotion?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so is this a first-person game?
Yes. Yes, it is. First person.
First person with optional thumbsticks from a not so prolific developer. Probably PlayStation exclusive. Is it a shooter?
No, that's 5. Not a shooter.
Is it a horror game?
Not a horror game.
Puzzler?
Not a puzzler.
Oh, okay. Do you control vehicles in this game?
You do not control vehicles in this game, no.
Is it a rhythm game?
It is not a rhythm game.
Fuck me. Okay. So it's first person. It's not a shooter or a horror game or a puzzler or a rhythm game. Shit, man. I don't want to keep guessing genres wrong.
Okay, this developer has made a bunch of other games that I've never heard of. I don't think any of them are VR.
Okay, I got you. Is this from a known franchise?
No, that's 10. And just to give you an answer to your very first question, on their website, they only have a link to the PlayStation Store version, so it does look like a PlayStation VR exclusive.
Cool. Is this does this game feature something that could be considered sport?
No.
No. So that's not fishing. Paul Snyder is considered sport, so it can't be a fishing game.
I would consider fishing a sport, yeah.
We already did Baby Hands Nick, so I don't think he's going to get me with that one again.
Hey, there's no rules.
I know that, but I don't think you would. This is basically what I'm saying.
Not like I have any kind of memory as to what games I've chosen. I'd have to go look at the list, honestly.
One of the only times I haven't gotten it was Baby Hands.
Okay, it's not Baby Hands. We can move on from that line of questioning.
That's an interesting thought, Tate. But how do we get to that? I mean, I guess I could specific. I don't want to give that question up like that, though. Does this developer have an upcoming game on any VR platform?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge. So that rules out Winds and Leaves, Tatum, because they're working on that Broken Sword or whatever it's called.
Also, does Winds and Leaves support analog sticks?
I don't know. I've never played it.
I thought it was moves only. I could be wrong.
I guess we could. Marcio asked, does it support aim controller?
It does not support the aim controller.
No, it's not a shooter.
Nope.
We just burnt that one.
Well,
right. I'm going to quit reading the comments now.
Oh, no. You've screwed up too much, you guys. Yeah.
Is it a platformer, Brian?
No, not a platformer.
Damn it. What the fuck is it? It's not a sports game, which means it's not a racer or a fishing game. It's not a rhythm game or a shooter or a puzzler. Fuck me. I'm so lost here. You don't control vehicles, so it can't be a flying game. The fucking clock's gonna get me this time, I think. I don't see it.
The clock is my biggest enemy all the time.
Yeah, J Mail tells the chat to quit sabotaging me. Is this a good game, Brian?
No. It is 100% not a good game, in fact.
Okay, so this is garbage. Oh, is this game come out within the last 2 years?
One second. Yes, it has. Yes, it did.
Okay, the fact you had to think about that kind of threw me off from what I was thinking. So this is a bad game that's come out recently. Does it feature animals?
Yes.
How many questions is that? I can't see.
You have 2 questions and a guess.
Oh.
In only 20 seconds.
Is that animal a dog?
That animal is a dog. 1 question and a guess.
Is it a 1 question and a guess?
Yep.
Well, I don't know what else to ask. Is it good dog, bad dog, Brian?
It is good dog, bad dog, with only seconds to spare by Play'em, who've never heard of prior to this, except for some mobile games, I believe. I looked, I could not find this game on any other platform. It is not a rhythm game. It is not a sports game. It is not a puzzle game. It is not even really a game. It is fucking terrible, and people have been asking us to use good dog, bad dog in 20 questions pretty much since the beginning of 20 questions. I have no idea if we've done it before or not.
I didn't see who it was. Somebody said pets, and that's what saved me. So kudos to you, whoever you were. Thank you.
Yes. And the chat is always super duper helpful. It's I swear I forget every single PSVR game that was ever released outside of Resident Evil 7 the second the game starts. Pretty terrible game. The fact that is somebody calling you? Is that what that is? What is?
No, it's a wrong number on my text message. I've been talking to them all day. I told them to tune in, and they're like, "Is this really you?" I'm like, "Yeah, just pick a number, and I'll prove it's me." But they won't pick a fucking number. So, hey, it's me.
Wow, that's hilarious. Don't give them my number, please. Oh, you've been talking to a wrong number all day? I love this.
Yeah, well, they said, "Is this Owen?" I'm like, "Definitely not Owen. You got the wrong number." But then they kept coming back at me with conversation like they knew me.
It's spam. It's spam.
Yeah.
I get this all the time. Somebody was like, "Is this Vincent?" And I'm like, "No." Is this whatever? Is this the person on is this James from LinkedIn? It's spam. Yeah. It's.
Well, they haven't started spamming me with shit yet. They've been just like, "Hey, what's up?" Bullshit. Yeah. But whatever.
Yeah, as long as you don't give them any personal information, then I guess you're good. Dude, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, man. This was a super duper in-depth conversation about a very minuscule piece of news regarding PSVR2. But again, any small any small morsel of food seems like a fucking feast right now. It has been so good to get a little bit more information about PSVR2 and actually seeing the thing on somebody's head, seeing the UI, or the user experience at least, not the UI specifically, I guess. It's been awesome. It's been awesome being able to feel it, makes it feel like it's a little more real, right?
Yeah, it makes it feel like it's soon. Mere
Mere
days
minutes away.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
No, for real though. I know we've said this a million times before, but this does feel a little different for whatever reason. It feels like when they start talking about their launch process and their launch cycle, it feels like we're there now, right?
Yeah.
We've wondered when this is going to finally kick off. It feels like that's what's happening. So I don't expect. How many times have we said this? I don't expect it's going to be another 2 months before we hear something else.
Yes, let's hope. Because yeah, man, I can't wait to find out. Somebody asked about Half-Life Alyx earlier in the stream. That's kind of like a dream scenario in my book. We get Half-Life Alyx, we get Grand Theft Auto 5, we get all these games that like just make perfect sense on PSVR 2. It's just we need to know how far, how far Sony is willing to sort of push in order to get what we would consider essential games on their platform. And I hope they push fucking hard and that we have a lot to look forward to. Jessica Wigfall, by the way, says, "Is it a Marvel game?" No. Okay, I got another game in my mind. Go ahead, Jess. Next question. I can wait. All right, man.
Let's go.
Listen, guys, this has been a super long show, just a little behind the curtains. Neither Wes or I were really ready to do this show today, man. Wes has been suffering with his own issues, and I've been getting over being sick. I tried to fix my sleep schedule, which failed miserably. I woke up at 5 and went, "Holy shit, it's 5! I only get an hour before the show." And so, thank you, Wes, for pushing through and motivating me to do the show today, because we very easily could have said, "Man, we are both in rough shape. Let's just not do this." But as I told you, Wes, it always disappoints me, I'm sure more than any of the cats out there, when I don't do a show. Whenever we have to cancel a show, it's the worst feeling ever, and I don't feel good about it until we've done another show. So I'm glad we were both able to do this today.
100%. And while I completely agree with the sentiment and am totally ready for a break, I'm 1,000% glad that we didn't cancel because I've had a blast.
Yeah, and you guys in the chat, you're the ones who help us through it. When we're struggling, we're having a rough day or a bad day, or not feeling well, or hurting. We see you guys, and especially when we see you waiting for the show to begin. Like, that is so much motivation to just flip the switch and go into GAMESCAST mode. And we love you so very much for it, guys. Thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon.com/WithoutParoleGames. Thank you to everybody who subscribes to the channel. Don't forget to also subscribe to Virtual Strangers. They're doing awesome stuff over there. I don't want to go on too long, Wes, but is there anything you want to promote that's happening on your channel this week?
For sure. It's Strangers in the Night. It's West Day. So we're going to name our winners of our Moss 2 figurine giveaway. We're also giving away game keys with these. Last call. Go enter now on last week's video if you want to be in the drawing tonight. We're talking about Stray, because I've been playing Stray in full-on 3D inside my VR headset, and it's beautiful and awesome. We're also going to talk about a game that's out tomorrow in Shock Troops, which is a retro FPS game, which is also awesome. And we're going to start a new giveaway for that. So, got a lot going on.
I was so bummed to find out that Shock Troops is not an updated version of the Neo Geo classic Shock Troopers. Really sad to find that. It looks like a generic first-person shooter, but I will tune in because I'm curious to know if it's more than it seems.
It's cool. The environments look really good inside the headset.
Nice. Well, don't forget to subscribe to Virtual Strangers. Support Wes over on his channel. He's got his own group of awesome co-hosts over there. And so, this VR is a big tent, man. Like, make sure you spread the love. And, rising tide lifts all boats, however the fuck this saying goes. I don't even know what it is. But, man, support the channels you love. And don't watch the channels you don't. Like, I keep hearing people complain about channels they don't like. And I'm like, why are you still watching them? Like, right? This is how capitalism works. This is how to vote with your dollar, even if you're not spending any money. Just support the ones you like, man. And if you don't like Without Parole, you feel free to stop watching, man. I know there's channels out there that will suit your needs better, and I totally understand. No hard feelings. I've been doing this for 7 years. Craziness, 7 years, and I've got a very thick skin at this point. But anyway, guys, thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. Thank you to everybody who who subscribes to both of our channels. Thank you to everybody who hung out in the chat, helped Wes with the 20 questions game. Thank you to everybody who did some super chats and contributed to the show financially, of course, but also thank you to everybody who sat back and watched the show. Didn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there and we love you just as much. Happy West Day, everybody. We'll see you Friday. Dan Kiefer in the chat says, hey, you didn't mention the Hitman 3 update.
That's a good point.
We didn't. I mean, I was happy to see that Ambrose Island does support PSVR mode because they weren't clear about that leading up to it. So very good stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool looking, isn't it? And if there was ever a game that doesn't need more content, it's Hitman 3. Hitman 1, 2, 3, I guess I should call it.
Yeah.
But with that said, this specific DLC looks quite unique from everything else in the game. So I look forward to checking it out at some point.
Yeah, it's awesome that they added a new map because a new map, I didn't care about the 7 Deadly Sins, a paid DLC. I didn't care about the additional escalation contracts, all that stuff. I'm like, what I wanted from Hitman was a new map. And it's amazing that they gave us the map for free. They made us pay for all this other garbage. And then they were like, oh, and here's a free map, the thing that you actually wanted. I was like, that's fucking awesome. I haven't had a chance to play it myself because, again, it's been a crazy week and I haven't been feeling hot. Yep. But I very, very much want to play that before Friday's show. So, Miles, get your shit together. We're going to do this.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that one next week. That sounds like a good plan.
Nice. All right, man. Well, good luck with everything you're doing tonight. And let's say goodbye to everybody. Enjoy your evening. We love you all. Meow.